A stock exchange tycoon in Celestia, Nolthen Eaton, suddenly broke off the engagement, right on the eve of the wedding, for his mentor's daughter, and withdrew all his investment in my family. Desperate, my brother, Elias, dragged me to confront Victor at his towering corporate headquarters. Instead of answers, Victor called the authorities, and Elias was arrested. As I stood there, stunned and tearful, Victor gently lifted my chin, his voice soft but laced with manipulation. Serafina, I'm not truly ending our engagement. I only ask that you allow my mentor's daughter, Liana, to live with us after we're married. Promise me you'll coexist peacefully with her, he said, his eyes gleaming with calculation. If you refuse, your only option is to marry that frail, powerless heir of the Delacroix family. You're clever, Serafina. I trust you'll choose wisely. I said nothing, my silence mistaken for surrender. A smug smile spread across his face. That's my girl. I'll come for you on the wedding day. But Victor didn't know that on the morning of the wedding, I slipped into the Delacroix family's sleek limousine and left him behind. Later, I heard he fell to his knees outside the Delacroix estate, soaked by rain, pleading for my forgiveness. Mr. Delacroix, if you marry me and save my family, I'll offer you control of 500 international depots, I had promised, kneeling before the Delacroix gate for hours in a storm. When the gate finally opened, the family's stoic butler, Marcel, emerged with an umbrella, his voice cold. He's agreed, Ms. Varnell. Return home. No one will speak of this night. Exhausted, I collapsed, my mind replaying the nightmare of 3 days prior. I had begged Victor for hours at Langston Enterprises, swallowing my pride to secure Elias's release, even offering to end our engagement. His response was dismissive, tinged with irritation. Serafina, do you think I'd abandon my plans so easily? Behave, and I might consider freeing your brother. That same afternoon, a call from the detention center shattered my world. Elias had died, supposedly from a sudden illness. When I saw his body, his skull fractured, limbs contorted in unnatural angles, it was clear he'd been tortured. My heart turned to ash. Kneeling at Elias's grave, I swore a blood oath to destroy Victor, my ally, the ruthless Julien Delacroix, the sole heir of the Delacroix dynasty, known for his arrogance and brutality. Marrying him might cost me everything, but I had no choice. Victor had bet on my desperation, assuming I'd cling to him. He was wrong. My grandfather, once a global titan in arms trading, left me a vast network of depots. With this as my leverage, Julien agreed to our union. The rain that night landed me in the hospital with pneumonia, and rumors spread that I was heartbroken over Victor's betrayal. Designer clothes began arriving at my bedside, sent by Victor, followed by a call. His voice dripped with impatience. Like the clothes? I know you're upset, but you don't need to make a spectacle of yourself, getting sick in the rain. Liana feels guilty. She cried all night, he said. Our wedding will go forward as planned. But you'll need to hand over your grandfather's depots to Liana as compensation, or Elias stays locked up. I heard Liana's faint sobs in the background before Victor hung up to comfort her. I set the phone down, a bitter smile curling my lips. Elias was gone. Nothing tethered me to Victor's schemes anymore. The Lorne family, Liana's kin, had collapsed under accusations of corruption and staggering debt, stripped from Australis' financial elite. Victor planned to use my family's depots to revive their fortunes. Instead, I would use them to bury him. Blinded by ambition, Victor mortgaged Langston Enterprises to prop up the Lorne Group, siphoning funds to fuel their recovery. He never considered the consequences. If his reckless gambles failed, his family's legacy would crumble. To win Liana's favor, he whisked her away on lavish trips, disappearing for days at a time. A month later, he returned and summoned me to a meeting, sliding a small trinket across the table. Serafina, a lucky charm for you, he said with a practiced smile. I froze, memories flooding back. The Varnell and Langston families had been allies for generations, and Victor and I were betrothed as children. Our bond, though arranged, had once felt real. At 15, during a hiking trip, we'd fallen from a cliff. Bleeding and terrified, Victor carried me to safety, donating blood to save my life. Every year since, he traveled to a sacred temple in a distant city to pray for a charm to protect me. This year was no different, or so I thought. As Victor urged me to take the charm, Liana leaned against him, her voice smug as she pointed to an identical charm around her neck. Take it, Serafina. Victor hiked for hours to get this for me. I was too weak to keep up, So he carried me most of the way, she boasted. Victor's expression flickered with unease, but he quickly covered it, feeding her a piece of sushi with a casual intimacy that spoke of habit. You talk too much, he teased her lightly. I stared at the charm he'd offered me, realizing the truth. The temple allowed only one charm per visitor. The one around Liana's neck was the sacred one he'd prayed for. Mine was a cheap replica, likely bought from a vendor at the temple's base. I don't want it, I said coldly, pushing it back. The air grew tense. Liana's eyes welled up. I think Serafina's upset because I'm here. I should leave. No, Victor snapped, his face darkening as he grabbed her arm. He glared at me, tossing the charm into the trash. If you don't want it, fine. I've indulged you too much. I was going to free your brother, but now? He can stay where he is. He stormed off with Liana, leaving me trembling with rage. I wanted to scream that Elias was dead, but a wave of dizziness hit, and darkness claimed me. When I regained consciousness in the hospital, the doctor delivered news that left me reeling. I was 2 months pregnant. My mind went blank, piecing together that it must have happened during the chaotic night of my engagement party, when Victor and I, caught in a haze of alcohol, had been intimate. Clutching the pregnancy test report, I stumbled out of the hospital, torn between ending the pregnancy and preserving the life growing inside me. Lost in thought, I collided with a woman approaching me. Sorry, I mumbled, looking up to see Liana's shocked expression. Her gaze locked onto the report in my hand, her fists clenching so tightly her knuckles whitened. I quickly tucked the paper away and hurried off, but Liana followed, her face twisting with malice. Serafina, what are you doing at the hospital? Feeling ill? Let me help you back inside, she said loudly, drawing the attention of passers-by. Before I could respond, she shoved me toward the curb, her voice dripping with false concern. Victor's been so kind, welcoming me into his home, and even buying me gifts. I owe you for that. From an angle hidden from the crowd, she drove her fist into my stomach. Her once innocent facade morphed into something cruel. I thought your brother's death would break you, but now you're using a baby to claw your way back into Victor's favor? I won't let you win. Her words hit like a lightning bolt. You, I gasped, realization dawning. You killed Elias. Rage surged through me, and I shoved her back with all my strength. Liana stumbled, falling to the ground, her palms scraping the pavement and drawing blood. Tears welled in her eyes as she wailed. Serafina, I just wanted to help. If you're upset about me living with Victor, fine, but why hurt me? Her cries drew a crowd, their accusing glares turning on me. Vicious woman, one shouted. No wonder Victor ended the engagement. Another sneered. You deserve to be abandoned. The mob's anger grew, and a sharp kick landed in my abdomen, sending searing pain through my body. I collapsed, clutching my stomach as unfamiliar cramps overwhelmed me. As the crowd closed in, a strong hand intercepted a slap aimed at my face. Who dares touch her? A furious voice roared. It was Victor. His eyes blazed with rare anger as he scanned my pale, trembling form. Who did this? His gaze landed on Liana, who stood among the crowd, visibly shaken. Blood dripped from her scraped hand as she sobbed. I saw Serafina looking unwell and offered to help, but she was furious about me staying with you. She pushed me. Victor's face darkened as he turned to me. You did this, he demanded. Is this your fault? Half conscious, I could barely shake my head, the pain rendering me mute. I had no strength to defend myself. Victor's patience snapped. With a swift, brutal kick to my abdomen, he snarled. This is your only warning. Cross me again, and Elias will rot in that cell forever. He scooped Liana into his arms and walked away, leaving me curled on the ground as warm blood seeped from my body. I knew then that the child was lost. A passerby rushed me to the hospital, where doctors confirmed the miscarriage. The incident exploded online, with headlines screaming, Tycoon Victor Langston, in a rage, brutally attacks fiancé, causing severe injury. Will the orphaned Liana Lorne seize her place? Accompanying the article was a photo of my blood-soaked coat. Liana became the center of attention, with netizens divided. To shield her reputation, Victor unleashed a legion of paid influencers, spinning a narrative that I, consumed by jealousy, had attacked Liana and provoked Victor's retaliation. They even claimed the blood on my coat was hers. Overnight, I became the villain, and the Varnell Group's stock plummeted, teetering on collapse. Still reeling from the miscarriage, I was readmitted to the hospital. Victor appeared at my bedside that night, carrying my favorite dessert, his expression flickering with something like guilt. "Serafina, I know you've been hurt, but targeting Liana was wrong. This mess is on you for resenting her presence in my home," he said, his tone patronizing. "You have a family, a brother, parents. Liana has no one. If I don't look out for her, who will?" He glanced at my coat, stained crimson. "That's just ink, right?" His eyes scanned me, relaxing when he saw no visible wounds. "Let's both compromise. I'll make it up to you after the wedding, double the compensation. I'll even have the media broadcast the ceremony live. Sound fair?" His arrogance made my blood boil, as if I should be grateful for his condescension. I turned my gaze from the window to his face, stopping him as he moved to leave. "Victor, are you sure it's ink on my coat? Not my blood." He froze, turning back with a frown. "Impossible. I only kicked you once. There's no bandage on you. How could it be blood?" Panic flickered in his eyes, but he quickly dismissed it. I forced a smile. "Just joking." My words ignited his temper. "Serafina, you think this is funny?"
"Stop testing me," he snapped. "Rest."
"I'll pick you up next week." He stormed out, oblivious to the fact that there would be no wedding for us. On the day of the ceremony, I boarded the Delacroix family's wedding car at dawn, leaving Victor behind. At a traffic light, our paths crossed. Victor, seated in his own wedding procession, caught sight of me. "Serafina," he muttered, shock rippling through him. As he turned to look again, I rolled up my window, cutting off his view. He moved to exit his car, but his assistant, Felix, intervened, sweating profusely. "Mr. Langston, you can't get out now. It'll delay the bride's arrival. More importantly, if we don't secure those depots today, we can't settle with the buyers. You must repay the funds you diverted from Langston Enterprises, or the company and the Lorne Group's debts will collapse." Snapped back to reality, Victor suppressed his unease. "Drive," he ordered coldly. As our cars passed, I lowered my window, scrolling through my phone with a faint smile. Victor had no idea what awaited him, a reckoning I'd carefully orchestrated. The Delacroix family's wedding car pulled up outside my home, but the scene was devoid of celebration. No decorations, no music, just an eerie silence that belied the occasion. Reporters swarmed the street, their murmurs growing louder as they speculated. What's the deal with the Varnells today? Are they snubbing Victor Langston on his own wedding day to get back at him for breaking the engagement? One journalist whispered. Victor stood outside, waiting for me to emerge, his confident smile fading with every passing minute. No one answered his knocks. "Serafina, enough games," he shouted, grinding a cigarette under his heel before pounding on the door. The noise drew irritated neighbors, who leaned out their windows, shouting, "What's wrong with you?" "The Varnells and Delacroix are joining families today. Serafina left with the Delacroix wedding car hours ago." Victor froze, as if struck by lightning. The memory of the wedding car he'd glimpsed earlier flashed through his mind, and realization hit. That was her. His face drained of color. "No, she's supposed to marry me," he roared, panic seizing him. He scrambled into his car, determined to chase after me. Felix, his assistant, blocked the vehicle, his voice trembling with urgency. "Mr. Langston, you can't go. We're in crisis." Victor cut him off, his patience razor-thin. "Felix, move." Desperate, he barked orders as he started the engine. "Spread word of my marriage to Serafina. Let everyone know the Varnell depots will be mine. That'll buy us time." Felix's voice shook as he persisted. "Sir, it's too late. Ms. Varnell just announced online that she's transferring the depots to Julian Delacroix. The business elite are rallying behind the Delacroix, crushing Langston Enterprises. You drained the company's funds to prop up the Lorne Group, breaking our capital chain. We're bankrupt, with billions in debt piling up." Victor's vision blurred, the words ringing in his ears like a death knell. He slumped in the driver's seat, consciousness slipping away. When he awoke in the hospital, rage consumed him. "Felix, go to the detention center and bring Elias to me," he growled. "Serafina's playing dirty, and I'll make her regret crossing me." As Felix hurried out, Dr. Ezra Holt, a close friend of Victor's, entered for rounds. Unaware of the drama, Ezra carried a clipboard, his focus usually buried in medical research rather than tabloid gossip. "Nolthen, what's going on with you and Serafina?" Ezra asked casually. "Last week, she was rushed to the hospital after a beating and a miscarriage. Now you're here. What's the story?" Victor's head snapped up, shock etching his features. Miscarriage? Ezra, oblivious to the tension, nodded. Yeah, she was 2 months along. Took a brutal hit to the stomach. When they brought her in, her coat was soaked with blood. She nearly bled out. She told me not to tell you, said you were too busy with work. Don't you check on her? Victor's mind reeled, drifting back to that night 2 months ago at our engagement party. My words echoed hauntingly. Victor, are you sure it's ink on my coat? Not my blood. He dismissed it, insisting it was impossible. Now, he sat frozen on the hospital bed, barely noticing Ezra's departure. Felix burst in, breathless with panic. Sir, it's worse than we thought. Ms. Varnell's brother, Elias, was murdered in the detention center. I found evidence Liana bribed someone to do it. Serafina went to claim his body last month. And the hospital security footage shows Liana provoked her that day, starting the fight. Victor collapsed onto a stool, gasping as the truth crashed over him. No wonder Serafina hadn't pleaded with him since last month. He'd thought she'd accepted his terms softened. In reality, she'd been plotting her escape, her heart hardened by betrayal. Liana appeared at the door, clutching a lunchbox, her face paling as she overheard Felix. Victor's gaze, heavy with heartbreak, met hers. Liana, why? He demanded. He trusted Felix's evidence. His assistant never spoke without proof. Cornered, Liana dropped her pretense, her eyes blazing with obsession. Yes, I did it, she admitted. But it's because I love you, Victor. Don't you love me? If she's gone, you have me. I can marry you, give you children. Victor stared at her as if seeing a stranger. Liana, I've only ever seen you as a sister. If I gave you the wrong idea, I'm sorry. But Serafina is the only one I want to marry. You don't love me? Liana's voice broke, tears streaming down her face, but her pleas left him unmoved. Then why were you so kind to me? Her words struck a chord, and Victor realized his mistake. His careless affection toward his mentor's daughter had blurred boundaries, sowing the seeds of this disaster. He turned away, refusing to see her again. His recklessness cost him everything. Langston Enterprises crumbled, erased from Astralis' financial landscape. As Victor scrambled to start anew and repay his debts, he searched for me relentlessly, but I was gone, vanished into the Delacroix fold, leaving him with nothing but regret. After my marriage to Julian Delacroix, we traveled overseas to manage the transfer of my family's depots. Over time, what began as a strategic alliance blossomed into genuine love, and we became a true partnership. 7 years later, we returned to Vienna for a critical business summit. I never imagined I'd encounter Victor Langston, my once arrogant ex-fiancé, now a shadow of his former self, gaunt and humbled. Mr. Carver, please consider Langston Enterprises' proposal, he pleaded to a passing executive. Mr. Hayes, just a moment to review our plan? Under the blistering summer sun, Victor hustled tirelessly to revive his company, sweat soaking his shirt, but no one spared him a glance. Then, his eyes caught mine across the crowded room. Serafina, he gasped, rushing toward me, grasping my hand as if I might vanish. You're back. I've searched for you all these years. I'm so sorry for everything, for Elias. I yanked my hand free, my gaze cold with disdain. Don't you dare speak his name, Victor. You lost the right to stand before me long ago. His shoulders slumped, loneliness clouding his eyes. Then he noticed the young boy at my side, his voice trembling with hope. Is this our son? Ezra said you had a miscarriage, but did you hide the truth? Before I could respond, Julian's arm wrapped protectively around me and our son, his voice laced with lazy confidence. Victor, it's been a while. What business do you have with my wife and son? Your son. Victor's face crumpled, disbelief warring with denial. Seeing our son's features, Julian's features, he clutched his head, groaning. Julian, you won. Serafina, you're really his wife. Did you know he manipulated you back then? I glanced at Julian, catching a flicker of unease in his normally composed expression. My heart stuttered, a seed of doubt taking root. That night, at the Delacroix estate, after tucking our son into bed, I confronted Julian. His denials came quickly, but his tense tone betrayed him. It's not what you think, Serafina. I'd avoided a nagging question for years. Why had Julian been so kind to me? He'd secured the Varnell family's future in exchange for the depots, a fair trade. There was no reason for him, a Delacroix, to love an enemy like me. He sighed, his voice heavy with confession. I orchestrated the Lorne family's downfall and pushed Liana between you and Victor to drive you apart. I didn't marry you just for the depots. I've admired you since we were children. You were meant to be my fiancé, but the Langstons outmaneuvered us, securing your family's alliance first. I've never touched the depots, Serafina. I only wanted you. I stared at him, emotions swirling. Julian, so cold to the world, had always been tender with me. Yet the revelation stung, and I needed time to process it. After our marriage, Julian had whisked me abroad, shielding me from the painful memories of Viana. When nightmares of Elias's death kept me awake, plunging me into depression, Julian stayed by my side, sacrificing business opportunities to support me. But his confession left me reeling, and I pulled my hand from his. I need time, I said softly. He nodded, a bitter smile tugging at his lips. I'll be here, always. The door closed quietly behind him, the sound sharp in the silent night. To make amends, Julian rose early the next morning to buy groceries, planning to cook a special meal for our 7th anniversary. But at dawn, I discovered our son, Theo, was missing. Panic surged through me as I reached for my phone to call Julian, only to receive a call from Victor. Theo's with me, he said. I raced to a nearby park, where I found Victor helping Theo into clean pants he'd bought. Seeing me, Victor scratched his nose, awkwardly. This kid got my number somehow, and begged me to take him to the park. He's almost 6, right? Still having accidents? I knelt, pulling Theo into my arms, my heart aching. When I was pregnant abroad, I couldn't cope with Elias's death. Depression kept me up at night, and it affected Theo's health. The doctors say his kidneys will improve with time. Victor's face paled, guilt flooding his eyes. I'm sorry, he whispered, biting his lip. I held Theo tightly, lost in memories of pain. Victor hesitated, then spoke softly. If there's any chance, I'd like to. I cut him off, raising a hand. Victor, what we had is over. Some wounds never heal. His body stiffened, his expression mournful, fists clenched at his sides. I understand, he said, voice trembling with resignation. At Theo's insistence, Victor spent the day with us at the amusement park. Not until evening, when he dropped us off at home, did Theo reluctantly part from him. Thank you, I said, acknowledging the joy he'd brought my son. Julian and I had been so consumed with our own struggles that we'd neglected Theo's need for attention. On the walk home, Theo confessed why he'd snuck out. He'd overheard my argument with Julian and, precocious for his age, wanted to uncover the source of our conflict. While I slept, he'd found Victor's number in my phone. At our doorstep, Victor met my gaze, emotions swirling in his eyes. Serafina, is he treating you well? I looked away, unable to answer, the weight of the past and present pressing heavily on my heart. I paused, glancing at the warm light spilling from the house, and smiled softly. Julian's been more than good to me. His love and devotion had given me a true family, despite the calculated moves that brought us together. Victor's expression faltered, a shadow of desolation crossing his eyes. He nodded faintly. That's good. I turned, guiding Theo home, my silhouette fading into the night. Inside, I found Julian standing by the living room's large window, cigarette butt scattered at his feet, his face unreadable in the dim light. You're littering again, I teased softly, opening the window to let in fresh air. As I passed, the faint smell of cooking oil clung to him, and I noticed the untouched meal on the table, his effort for our anniversary. Guilt hit me when I realized my phone had died, leaving him waiting all day. Julian, I'm sorry. I forgot to tell you I'd be out. To my surprise, he stepped forward, pulling me into a tentative embrace. Please don't shut me out, he said, his voice careful, each word weighed with fear of pushing. I hugged him back, whispering, I told Victor there's nothing between us. It's over. Relief lit up his eyes, a spark of joy breaking through his usual composure. You're not angry anymore? Leaning against his shoulder, I smiled, warmth spreading through me.
No.
Weeks later, Liana appeared at a cafe, kneeling before me with tearful eyes that barely masked a glint of calculation. Serafina, I was wrong. I caused Elias's death, not Victor. Please go see him. His parents died after Langston Enterprises collapsed, and he's alone, drinking himself to death, locked away at home. I stepped back, my hand flashing across her face in a sharp slap. That's for my child, Liana. You owe Elias a debt you'll never repay. Victor destroyed his own company for you, Why should I care? Her lips trembled, hiding a flicker of resentment, but I turned and left. At the door, I froze. Victor stood there, having overheard everything. His gaunt frame seemed fragile, as if a breeze could topple him. Forcing a weak smile, he said, "You're right, Serafina. I brought this on myself." He walked away, his figure vanishing around the corner. I never saw him again after that. One day, Theo's kindergarten teacher called, saying he'd gotten into a fight with a classmate. I rushed over, only to find Victor had already handled it. "Thank you," I said, holding Theo close, keeping my tone polite but distant. Victor's eyes dimmed at my reserve. "I mean no harm," he said, his voice soft. "Just, Theo keeps things bottled up. You and Julian should watch that." His head bowed, strands of hair falling across his forehead, accentuating his loneliness. I opened my mouth but said nothing, the weight of our past too heavy. At home, Theo confessed the fight stemmed from classmates taunting him, claiming his real father was unknown or even Victor. The cruelty of adult conflicts had spilled onto him. When I told Julian, he revealed a shocking truth. The parents of Theo's bullies were business contacts Victor had once courted. To atone, Victor had reported their shady dealings. "I've made sure everyone knows," Julian said, emerging from the kitchen in an apron, carrying dinner. "Those spreading rumors will face consequences." His quiet care under the soft light warmed me, a reminder of our simple, steady life. Months later, Victor rebuilt Langston Enterprises and invited our family to a celebratory gala. Given his kindness to Theo, we attended. At the event, Theo begged to explore the estate's garden, but a sudden dizziness kept me in the hall. I asked Julian to go with him. Then, a fire erupted. Victor grabbed my hand, pulling me toward the exit as flames roared. Smoke choked the air, stinging my eyes. On the first floor, he stopped abruptly. "My father's watch. It's in my office upstairs." "Are you insane?" I coughed, gripping his arm. "The fire's too strong. You'll die." Tears streamed down my face as smoke overwhelmed us. Victor's voice cracked with desperation. "I have no family left. That watch is all I have." He pushed me toward the exit and stumbled back into the inferno. Memories of his sacrifice years ago, when he nearly gave his life to save mine, flooded back. I couldn't let him go. "Wait here," I shouted, covering my mouth and racing upstairs. Through the haze, I found the watch on his desk and staggered back down, gasping for air. But then I saw it, a burning beam teetering above Victor's head. "Danger. Run," I screamed, my heart stopping. I sprinted toward him, but he stood frozen, unmoving. The beam crashed down, pinning him to the ground, lifeless. I clawed at the burning beam, pinning Victor, my heart sinking as I saw jagged metal fragments embedded in his skull. "Victor!" I screamed, panic overtaking me. Chaos swirled around us, people fleeing, shouting, as waves of searing heat enveloped the hall, transforming it into a nightmarish inferno. Victor's eyes fluttered open, unfocused, struggling to find me. A faint, pained smile crossed his lips. "Serafina." I listened. "You said to wait, so I stayed." Blood spilled from his mouth, his voice fading to a whisper, each word a labored effort. He reached for me, his trembling hand heavy with a calm resolve, but the ashen pallor of his face sent dread coursing through me. "Victor!" I called again, desperation choking my voice. No response. His hand fell limp, and the light in his eyes dimmed. Debris rained down, the crackle of flames deafening. Julian burst through the smoke, his face taut with urgency. Seeing Victor's lifeless form, he froze for a moment before wordlessly hoisting the body over his shoulder and guiding me out of the blaze. Later, the police investigation revealed Liana had set the fire at the Langston estate, her unrequited love for Victor twisting into vengeful rage. She was arrested and imprisoned, her actions born of desperation and resentment. At Victor's funeral, his physician delivered a devastating revelation. Victor had been battling late-stage liver cancer, which had spread to his eyes, leaving him nearly blind. The truth hit like a blow. No wonder he'd stumbled while saving me. No wonder he hadn't seen the beam falling. Yet, despite his frailty, he'd risked everything to pull me from the fire. Tears streamed down my face as I covered my mouth, my once resilient heart fracturing under the weight of guilt. I told him to wait there. Leaning into Julian's embrace, I sobbed, my voice raw. I told him to stay. "It's not your fault. Julian murmured, holding me tightly, his hand soothing my back. He appointed a trusted ally to oversee Langston Enterprises, directing all profits to charitable causes in Victor's name. Julian and I decided to relocate abroad, seeking a fresh start. Before leaving Vienna, we visited Victor's grave. Standing before the headstone, I whispered, "Victor Langston, thank you." The pain of the past dissolved like mist, leaving only quiet gratitude.